Hello and welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm of course your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 277th episode, our returning guest is Jonathan Fowler. Jonathan is the all-time most frequent guest of the Rob Burgess Show. For a complete list, check the show notes. Jonathan graduated with a BA in History from Indiana University in 2006. He is an unabashed left-wing political junkie. He has lived and worked in South Korea for over a decade, trying to help the citizens of that great nation, hopefully, talk pretty one day. And now on to the show.
Yeah, this is not the same as the whatever we had been using. Not Zoom. What was the other one? Skype or whatever.
Yes.
What's the deal? Why did they fucking end Skype? That seems like an Elon Musk level, killing your own brand name that's almost universally recognized or something.
I mean, Skype's been around for 2 decades now. I've been using it, and there was nothing wrong with it. And Microsoft paid $8.5 billion for it only a few years ago, and now they're trying to roll everyone into Microsoft Teams, which is terrible. I hate Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, and it's this. They're doing the same thing with. It seems like they're trying to do the same thing with. Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel and all this other, what is it? PowerPoint.
Oh my gosh,
They're trying to turn everything into a damn subscription package service or something.
Yep.
Absolutely ridiculous. I think there's something also like with the Facebook, with Mark Zuckerberg and how hard he was trying to push that stupid like metaverse thing where it's like we're all gonna come on guys, bro, we're all gonna be in virtual reality, but nobody's gonna have legs, and we can have like meetings in the digital world, only if you're a perpetually like online Silicon Valley CEO does this kind of thing seem like useful or appealing to you. Like we're gonna optimize the workspace with this kind of crap.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's not appealing to normal people.
No. Nobody wants to strap that on their head just to see what grandma posted,
Yeah. I recently got a virtual reality headset, actually.
Oh.
Not the Oculus, but yeah, no, I'm not, number one, well, I can't really figure out what to do with it though, because it's like a Chinese thing or something. And like the Play Store doesn't link up with my Steam library or something. And so,
oh man.
It's all pretty confusing. I'm going to try to get somebody to fix it for me here pretty soon so I can get it hooked up to my computer properly and actually play, normal Western like virtual reality games and stuff on it. But
so is that what you bought it for, is to play games?
Yeah, I'm not doing fucking meetings.
All
right, well, how's the fam doing?
Oh, good. We just had our big run of birthdays here. We had Lilac turned 5. We had a couple days later, that was on the 24th of April, and then on the 27th, Kingsley turned 2. And then my birthday was on the 2 days later, the 29th. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be an expensive time of year for you guys.
It is. We kind of have to save up all year. But yeah, no, we've got, and the end of this month's going to be crazy because Ash and I have our 15th wedding anniversary, and Emerald, and 2 days later on the 31st, Emerald is turning 8. And then July 12th is Ash's birthday and Captain's birthday, who is turning 11.
Wait, they have the same birthday?
Yes.
Oh wow. That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so lots of family stuff going on, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've actually got my dad's birthday today, so I've got to call him later today. And I don't know, supposedly like Mother's Day is around now too.
Supposedly it's on Sunday. You better get in gear.
Okay. Well, it's always confusing because I don't know. It's complicated because it's always my dad's birthday, but then also I'm supposed to call my mom at some point too because it's always around the same time. I'm never exactly clear when it's supposed to be. But
right.
Yeah, Dad's always May 10th, and then Mom is supposed to be May or 11th or 12th for what she's got going on, right?
Yeah. You need to remember those. Yeah, but it would be easier if your parents were still together, I guess.
Yeah. That's so. yeah, I gotta, contact some people, I guess.
For sure. Well,
So
yeah,
yeah,
sorry, long time no talk. I really didn't see any of those messages you sent for like a month and a half, so I'm sorry.
yeah,
I
like
wasn't ignoring you.
what's going on with Facebook, where the
I don't
Facebook
know.
Messenger, which according to
I
them
sent you
had
the
to,
screenshot. It just like was nothing. It was like just
yeah,
blank.
yeah. It's very disturbing, Facebook made such a big deal about how they needed to have, Facebook Messenger had to be a separate app from Facebook itself so that, they could really, whatever, dedicate themselves to messaging or whatever as a service. But yeah, when like messages are not being sent between people who have been friends for like, on Facebook since 2004,
Since
like
Facebook
what are
was
we talking
Facebook.
about? Yeah,
Since you had to have a college ID to get in.
yeah, I never had messages go missing when the messenger was still part of the Facebook app itself,
Tell me
let
about it.
alone the website.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell Zuckerberg's doing, and let alone buddying up to Trump, but
Ugh.
which apparently isn't working.
Why isn't it working? Is there something against Meta these days?
I think well I think he either he or what's his name Jeff Bezos. I think one of them had some sort of a, I don't know if it was an investigation or
It
something
was
still
Bezos
going.
who was going to put on Amazon. He was going to put a different price with the tariff price, like separate from the other price.
Oh that was another thing, but
Okay.
I no, I think one of them was under investigation or they were having a
Oh
merger
yeah,
block
yeah.
or something.
I know what you're talking about.
I think the idea was they buddy up to Trump here this term, and maybe they'll get some of that Elon Musk love, which the funny thing is, like, this person is, it's like me with women. It's like nothing ever lasts long term. You want a guaranteed bad relationship? Start the relationship in the first place. It's like, you know, Elon Musk donated however many millions of dollars. Mark Zuckerberg donated money, and he didn't get the same treatment as Elon, which now Elon seems to be on the way out. So Jeff Bezos, somebody should
Yeah.
honestly write a book about what happened to Jeff Bezos because um, I mean, if you remember in the first term, democracy dies in darkness
Oh
and all the
yeah.
resistance lib bullshit on the Washington Post,
Hmm.
let alone Khashoggi getting massacred at the Saudi
R.I.P.
embassy in Turkey or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
R.I.P.
And there was something where when he left his wife and he was having an affair with this other woman, what's her name? The lady he's with now,
Oh yeah.
and her brother was some sort of a conspiracy theorist who had leaked some information to right-wing media or something, and the Saudis were hacking his phones and all this
Mm.
crazy stuff, and the Saudis were in bed with Trump. Like, I thought, Elon Musk was going to be a decent resistance lib in good standing, but this time he's rolled over completely for what that's worth. So,
Yeah, well,
uh,
and the grift just continues and continues because now apparently one of the contingencies of making a deal for these tariffs is that you give preferential treatment to Starlink, as I was reading the other day.
yeah,
So
I mean, at, at what point does some of this stuff, like, who has standing to just say this shit is fucking illegal and we're going to sue the fucking pants off you people? Like, we all know that the Supreme Court and the courts are packed and all that and so on and so forth. But like, at what point does somebody just say this is so blatantly,
mhm.
obviously, clearly illegal? You can't do
Yeah,
it. You, Somebody's going to pay a shitload of money, and somebody needs to go to jail for this shit. Like, I
right.
honestly think
Yeah.
the 2028 Democratic candidate is going to be the first person who says, "I'm going to lock up every last one of these fucking Trumplicans." Like that's I would vote for that in a heartbeat over anything
Sure.
else. You could tell me almost anything else. I'd say, "You're going to throw them in jail." They're gonna, "Oh well, you don't know. They didn't commit a crime and they're not guilty." And I don't give a fuck. They're not following the law. We don't have to pretend like we're going to follow the law. That's what we need.
No, no, no. But all you have to do is follow the law. You don't even have to do anything outside the
Oh,
law.
absolutely. Yeah,
You know what I
like
mean? Like you don't have to do anything
yeah,
extra. Just
like
enforce the already written
it's
law.
yeah, like if a prosecutor says about somebody, we've caught this person, we think they're a criminal, and we are going to prosecute them. You can't say you can't prosecute them. They haven't been convicted yet. Like that's not how the law works. You think they committed a crime, you accuse them of committing the crime, and then you set about working to prove it. It's not
Right.
like you can't start the first step because you haven't hit the third step yet. Like that's not how that's the way the world is going, though. It seems like, as far as
Oh
the
yeah.
logic.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Oh my. And then saw the State Department was going to buy a bunch of cyber trucks too. That was another one.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's wildly criminal and illegal, and
yeah,
the fact that nobody even feels the need to hide it anymore.
right.
You know, this is all heading towards a correction. There has to be a correction for all this.
Well, I mean, that's part of the reason that there is a checks and the balances a system in the first place, right? Because one is supposed to let off the steam of the other, and if no steam is let off, then what do you? I mean, where's all that energy go? Money is speech. The court's bought and paid for.
Mhm.
The Congress has given up its duty of the power of the purse, checking the executive, and it's basically a de facto monarchy at this point, or dictatorship or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. So
yeah. Well, we've gotten to this point, and the Republicans in the Supreme Court seem satisfied for the most part. The Republicans in Congress and the Senate seem satisfied for the most part.
yeah,
The
and
Republicans in
there's
society seem satified for the most part, but so
yeah.
what's yeah, and unfortunately, the Democrats are such, they're like oh, what's his name? The Happy Warrior. Who am I talking about?
Hmm?
25-hour filibuster against
Oh, you
nothing.
talking about Cory Booker?
Cory Booker, like he's like, I'm gonna stand up for 20. Somebody did 24 hours. I'm gonna do 25 hours. This is me fighting back.
Well,
Okay, great.
I watched part of that, and it was self-serving, I
Hmm.
admit, but it was the most action I had seen outside of AOC and Bernie and maybe Jasmine Crockett. Like that's
What?
I can count on one hand the number of Democrats I saw doing anything prior to that. So at least,
Sure.
even if somebody was trying to raise their own profile, we already know you can all go back and
Well,
listen to the many, many debates we covered Cory Booker in.
yeah.
But
Well, that's
he obviously wants to have that seat in 2028, and that's fine. We'll see him around back then, I'm sure. But somebody
well.
is acting like it's an emergency, at least. You
Well,
know,
what do you think? What do you think the chances are he runs for president in 2028?
I think 110%.
What do you think the chances are that AOC or Bernie run for president in 2028?
I think it's rising all the time.
But less,
Less than
less,
100, less than
less.
100, less than 110%. Yes. Like I
That's my
was
point. Yeah,
50-50 at best, maybe. I don't
yeah.
know. What do you
I
think?
mean, they're the ones we need, and they're out there doing real things. Rousing
Yes.
up populations in
Yes.
rested red states.
Yes.
Um, this guy's like, look at what I can do. Did I pee? Did I not pee? I'll never tell. I mean, I don't respect it. I'm tired of this performative shit. This,
Mhm.
I can't
Hey, it's
deal with.
it's better than Chuck Schumer.
Sure,
Let's give him that.
okay, it's a low bar.
It's on the ground, but yes.
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but I've been, more and more listening to the Bulwark podcast stuff
Yeah, I
rather
remember
than
you
like,
mentioning that a couple times before. So this is conservatives that have now become anti never Trumpers, and now they're the Liz Cheney faction. Let's say.
yeah, to some degree. I mean, I don't know about Liz Cheney exactly, but yeah, they're more
The
along those
disaffected
lines.
conservative.
Yeah, and I mean, there are absolutely things that, I would, fight these people to the ends of the earth on. I'm sure their
Israel
Israel
Palestine comes
Palestine.
to mind.
Yeah, this is another thing that which they make snide aspersions to sometimes, but they don't actually ever go in depth on it, because I think a couple times they've revealed their lack of knowledge on it to some degree and
Sure.
stuff. And this is the kind of stuff that we would be fighting to the ends of the earth on. But as far as like actually going after people, calling people stupid, like insulting the Republicans, insulting the Trump people, making them look like idiots instead of, I don't know this. They're not exactly resistance libs, which is the I don't know. There's something in their DNA where they know how to attack people reasonably well, which
Yeah,
is something
well,
that
I think that just speaks to that Republicans have been sharpening this blade for all the wrong reasons for so long that now that a couple of them know what to do with it, it's useful to have those people, pointing in the right direction for once on something important, because
Yeah.
they definitely have been eating the Democrats' lunch on messaging and general like long-term thinking for decades now at this point.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting tired of some of the other stuff on the left wing as far as like, I don't know if you been following the Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian fall from grace over the past year or so?
I have not honestly kept up with them at all. So I last time I think I watched Cenk Uygur was probably when he debated Sam Harris a couple of years ago. I don't really like I felt like he said something or did something in between then that I didn't think he was like worth listening to anymore for some reason. I don't know. You've paid attention to this more, so go ahead.
Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, like they've gone down the kind of the right wing. Again, Bob, I don't know. I think to be in the media, you've got to pay attention to some of these things to
All
some
right,
degree because
are
there's
they
a
one
lot.
of these why I left the left people?
Well, they're saying that they're not because they would have made fun of people for doing that years ago. But uh,
Are they on the Dave Rubin train? Are they getting the money from
well, there's a lot of allegations about getting money. I don't know that that's it though. But like, well, Anna Kasparian has got a new show now on the PBD podcast network.
what's that?
Patrick Bet David, the Iranian guy.
I've heard that name. Uh
Bob, you really
oh,
got to get into the
I think I
alternative
saw
media
him
space.
debate. I think I saw him debate what's his name? Majority Report, Sam Cedar.
Sam Cedar.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Sam Cedar was on his show shortly
Yes.
after the Jubilee thing or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and again, I mean, like Sam Cedar's another guy I like and have massive respect for, but again, most of the other people on his Majority Report are driving me crazy these days. So again, it's just like I feel like the parts of the Majority Report are kind of falling down on the job. The the Young Turks have absolutely fallen down on the job. Just yesterday, like Cenk Uygur did a 40-minute interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene,
It's a mistake.
one of one of the least sophisticated people in. And again, Cenk is trying to do this thing where it's like, oh, the left and the right. Why can't we all be populists, and why can't the populists on both sides get together and fight against the people who are hypocrites and they said they were going to make things better but they didn't, and aren't you ready to turn on Donald Trump yet? But she's not, of course. But yeah, anyways, he just basically has Marjorie Taylor Greene on the show and asks a bunch of very leading questions like, you know you don't want there to be a war, do you?
Mm.
You don't want the war with Israel and Gaza to continue, do you? And she's like, yeah, and I think we need to stop funding Ukraine. He's like, yeah, but okay, but it's just like, he's trying to lead her to the right answers, and she's
She
just,
doesn't want to go there. She's not interested in the right answer.
well, number one, she's not really politically sophisticated enough to understand like what's happening exactly. Like it was a maddening interview, of course. So
Right.
yeah, the Young Turks have kind of lost the plot. I think aspects of I think Kyle Kalinske has been doing a much better job mostly recently. Yeah, there's just ups and downs as far as the factions on the left about who's doing what.
Mm.
But so you don't know Patrick Bet David at all, huh?
Vaguely. He's like kind of conservative or something. Is that right?
He's one of these. He basically ran like a multi-level marketing, not a pyramid scheme, but a multi-level marketing insurance sales thing, whatever, uh, real estate empire, South Florida, Republican adjacent,
Mm.
business bro podcast type of things for the past several years.
Yeah.
But he's trying to get into the political space, more and more, even though he's dumb
Interesting.
as fuck and like, he talks a mile a minute and he tries to out talk you and he tries to, what about this? But have you ever thought about it from this perspective? And what if you're a parent and you have sons and one of your son does this and the other son does that? And that's how I think about the Democratic Party. Just like a lot of like these, facile
Mm.
metaphors and everything. It's very, very dumb, basically.
Wow.
So,
Okay. I'm
anyways,
not
yeah, but
familiar.
again, I think Bob, you've got to be familiar. You got to be like conversant in this ecosystem, as it were. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a real like I feel like a lot of these people need an editor, and I feel like people are just allowed to say things on these shows and no one like corrects them at all a lot of times, and so based around the personalities of like the people that who are the hosts and the intrigue and drama between the hosts. And I don't know, I guess it's the nature of the beast or whatever, but I think it can get I get a little tiring. I guess I try to watch like some of these like on a daily the daily shows of these ones that you mentioned, and I
Hmm.
never really am able to keep up with it. I see like highlights or like if there's like a special like thing where somebody has a viral video or a debate that's
When he was on Patrick Bet David's show, also Sam Cedar, it was the same thing. They had like, they had Patrick Bet David. They had his assistant guy. I forget the guy's name. He's another Jewish guy there. And they had this crazy, unhinged, ranting lunatic who like looks like he's about 5 seconds from a heart attack. I think he's an Italian guy. And so they had like four screaming people trying to like override Sam Cedar while he was debating them. And they're just playing, Gish galloping nonstop and like
oh
changing
yeah.
the subject and what about the okay, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about this other thing, like this kind of stuff nonstop.
Oh man,
So
gish galloping is such a good term. It describes so much of the like the prattle. Not on podcasts like this. We're substantive, but
have you been following the Hassan Piker slash Ethan Klein back and forth also?
no, fill me in.
Oh, well, never mind. It's about the Israel Palestine stuff, and
Ah,
they had a podcast. Anyways, it's Hassan Piker being Cenk Uyghur's nephew.
oh, okay.
Um, okay, well, I don't know, Bob. What are you watching on YouTube? I wonder.
This is what I keep you around for.
Okay,
I need
again,
you to pay attention to stuff. You're my
I,
correspondent in the
I
alternative media world.
yeah, but again, the problem is like I feel like I don't want to over explain it too much because I worry that much of your audience may be more familiar with it than you are.
Okay,
So
well then we don't have to explain it. They'll know. They
yeah.
can Google it, I
Hmm.
suppose.
Yeah. Well, Hassan, right? Hassan Piker, Hassanabi,
I know the name.
Hassan
I
Mod.
know the name. I've heard that
He's
name before.
number one Twitch streamer, political.
I'm not on Twitch really. Are you on Twitch?
No, but I mean, it all goes to YouTube and everything too.
Ah,
So
okay.
yeah. Anyways, okay, enough, maybe enough about all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I just think Cenk Uygur is continually disgracing himself, and Anna Kasparian has been gotten a show just this past week on the PBD network called like Her Take, I think it's called.
Hmm.
And it's her and like three other conservative women who all, including one woman, I think Lindy Lee, who is actually like a shit lib mainstream Democrat until Joe Biden lost the election, and then she became a conservative and everything, and she's bitching about all this other stuff now about immigration
Wow.
and stuff. It's like a bunch of, and so Anna Kasparian's on there with her, and there's another woman, and then there's another woman whose like only qualification is that she's been a PBD like producer for a couple years or something, and it's like, I mean, is this Patrick Bet David's like mistress or something? Like, who is this lady? How the hell did she get a political consulting job on the women, the PBD Women's Conservative Talk Show thing or whatever? But
Wow.
uh, yeah.
But what do
Yeah,
you think? Okay, go back to this a little bit. What do you think the value is of alternative media nowadays? Like, don't you think it's a little caught up in itself or something? Like, it doesn't seem like I don't know. It's hard for me to watch. I can't take too much of it. I feel like anymore.
well, Bob, what are we?
We're mainstream, baby. Everybody loves the Rob Burgess Show.
Uh, I have very complicated feelings about alternative media, and I think if you watch like Kyle Kalinske he's really come around on the thing. The thing that I've always thought about alternative media is you can't have alternative media without mainstream media. Like
Exactly.
you can't like
Here's
the
an
young church.
article from fill in the
Yeah,
blank. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, TYT. They tried to like when they got their funding and they hired Emma Vigeland, and they hired that other guy who got fired for sexual harassment and wasting company funds and everything.
Oh, I don't know
But
who's that.
they sent them out to where was the pipeline protest or something? Do you remember this when this was going on?
Standing Rock?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, the Native American area where they were protesting the pipeline
Yeah.
coming through or something.
Yep.
And the big promise of this whole thing was that, hey, yeah, look, see if we just get more money, if we get, millions of dollars in funding from whoever it is, then we can actually afford to hire more employees, including reporters who we can send out to places and report on things. And I'm like, this is not even in the most optimistic version, this is not even like 1/1000th of what a CNN or an MSNBC or somebody has, where they have a Seoul branch, they have a Tokyo branch, they have a
Hmm.
London branch, right?
Yep.
Like they have Middle East, they've got reporters living in societies, understanding what the hell's going on in these places that you guys are just never going to have. And like, I'm sorry, like, and you're always going to be to some degree parasitically sucking the blood off of
Hmm.
actual news organizations that actually, and you can argue with their takes or whatever. You can say they have different, business interests or whatever. The business interests are controlling the coverage. Again, I'm not sure there's much evidence for that. I'd like to see the evidence. Maybe I have to read more Chomsky or something. But like, um, but my point is like the alternative media is never going to replace the mainstream media.
Yeah.
But yeah, the yeah, and also at the same time, like, you got millions of dollars or whatever in investment at that time, and you hired these reporters and you sent them to Standing Rock. Okay, like Standing Rock, was it a big issue? I don't know. Arguably, maybe for some people, sort of. It's also very niche, and it's like, and this is like probably back around like what, 2016, 2017. I can't even remember exactly when. How many other major stories in America, let alone the world, were going on that time at that time that could have been covered? So I do think
Hmm.
that there's always been this, I think people have to understand, like, we maybe we need the mainstream news for actual coverage of places and things that are happening, but I do think a lot of times mainstream news is analysis has not been very diverse, complex,
Sure. Yeah.
uh,
No, I get that.
smart.
That's a good point.
I
Yeah.
mean, you hire somebody like Chris Como, who's like, he's a handsome dude, he's a tough dude, he seems to have integrity, although he apparently doesn't,
Well, no, he
and
doesn't really, but
he can read the news,
yeah,
and he
you can
likes to
read the
play a
teleprompter. Yep.
raging centrist. But like yeah, this guy can read the news. He's aware of what's happening in the world day to day. But when you
Yeah.
ask him to analyze it, you're going to get a lot of bullshit. So,
Well, yeah, that's
um,
true.
yeah,
No, I get that. That's a good point. You know, I do think there's a real lack of diversity in journalism for sure.
yeah. Well, people like Kyle Kalinske, as I said, he's really come around on this alternative media thing because he's seen in the last year, people with audience capture, people like Jimmy Dore, people who are just kind of like conspiracy grifting. He's seen the all those right wing people that he used to think were, genuinely a right wing or something, but then he finds out that they're all, getting money from the Russians through that Canadian woman or whatever. Um, you know what I'm talking about there? That
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know about it.
Yeah, we talked about that on a previous episode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, and I've always thought that Kyle Kalinske was a little bit. I think he's kind of he wants to be a bros bro. Like he really really had a crush or something for many years on Cenk Uygur, I think, and he really looked up to him as his big brother or something. He wanted to be just like his show or something. And to be fair to them, they did start the Justice Dems together, and they got to some degree people like AOC and people like that into Congress and stuff. So good on them. But
Yeah.
at the same time, he was always like making a lot of excuses for Cenk and didn't want to see the worst parts of Cenk for a long time. And I think he's finally come to realize that you know he, as much as he was a part of alternative media and as much as he thought it was a good thing, he's starting to realize nowadays that yeah, it's got as many problems as mainstream and possibly more problems than mainstream media.
Well, if alternative media gets big enough, it does become the media, So it's not really what it's like kind of like a alternative rock, as a term. Like if your band is the most popular band in the world, are you really alternative? What are you the alternative to? Or you're not, you are the mainstream. You are the, you are
Yeah.
what we're all looking at, And I think that Trump, to his, I guess, credit, or at least his handler's credit, went on a bunch of like podcasts right leading up to the election, and it didn't hurt him. I don't think. I don't know how much it helped. It was probably one of many factors that caused him to win,
I think
but
it helps.
I think it
I
definitely
mean,
helped. And if you look at those view counts and subscriptions, and like millions of people are paying attention to this, this is their primary source of news. And, you know, I don't know, like it's real slippery for these people a lot of times to claim they'll slip in and out of the journalist role
mhm.
when it suits them. And I guess that's one of my biggest annoyances about alternative media as a concept, is that they want all of the upside of having a platform and an opinion, and then none of the downside. They want to like totally, I'm just a conversationalist. I'm just asking questions. Like they don't want to take any responsibility for the other side of it. I guess sometimes they want to be like, I'm asking the hard hitting question. I'll say the things that the mainstream won't tell you. But then it's like, it doesn't work both ways. You can't have it both ways, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe. I think that's human nature, though. I mean, everybody wants
Yeah.
to get as much credit as they can for what they do well, and then mitigate as much responsibility as they can for the things that they did wrongly. So I think that's human nature, basically. But yeah, I don't know. I think that, yeah, I do think that there is a lot of, you know, unrealistic self-perception on the part of a lot of alternative media folks as to, what media actually is and how much they're actually doing. Really, it
Yeah.
is, and how much of a refusal to acknowledge how much of a leech on the actual reporting that gets done by places that have bigger budgets, rightly or wrongly. And also, I think to some degree there is, and I probably wouldn't be very good for this. If I had my own podcast, I probably wouldn't be getting as many interviews as like as a CNN certainly does, or as like probably even, the Rob Burgess show does. Because like, I think like, I don't know. I think to some degree I have adversarial aspects of my personality, and I have a desire to challenge people or something like that. Like when certain people come on, I'm like, you said this controversial thing, or you had this controversy. I want to talk about that. Or you were affiliated with this group, and I want to talk about that. Or what do you really think about this thing that you said before? I'm going to be asking some hard questions, which is, and I think the thing is also with, with alternative media, they go so hard on people that they don't like, which is, it's opinion journalism. To be fair enough, but at the same time, that precludes them ever actually having those people on their show, so that you haven't, and this isn't, they would say, I'm sure, that on the opposite hand, this is an access journalism problem. Like, MSNBC and CNN have to be nice to everybody because they need to be able to have them back on later, plausibly, right? But they won't do that. So they're not going to play the game. So they won't, but the result is they never get within 500 meters of any of the people that they could be interviewing, right? So it's,
But I do think that when you don't have to answer or ask those people for anything again on a regular basis, like I in my work as a journalist, I have beats, and I have to talk to the same people over and over again and see the same people over and over again oftentimes. So I can't always like burn every bridge, on every interaction, I guess. It
yeah.
wouldn't, it can't pay it for the future. You won't be asking any more questions of any kind. You go too hard.
Yeah, you'll be interviewing the hand
Yeah,
because the face don't want to
exactly.
hear it no more. Me.
Sorry. Robot woman. Um, yes, alternative media. So I mean, I get what you're saying overall. I do think that there are blind spots, huge blind spots and deficiencies in traditional media that definitely should be addressed. I just don't think alternative media can be everything. And I think oftentimes for too many people it is.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe so. But I think that goes both ways, though. I think for too many people, mainstream media is the only thing they consume. They have no idea what's going on in the alternative
Oh yeah,
space.
I don't support that either. I don't think you can possibly get a complete view if you don't at least somewhat pay attention to that for sure.
Yeah. I think there's been some criticism also that, towards the flailing end of the 2024 campaign or whatever, like, they invited a bunch of alternative media left wing people to the White House to do something, and so they had, Vosh and Destiny and I think God, who else was in there? There were some other people. I want to say David Pakman was in there. I think David Pakman did like, a fast. David Pakman has complained that he got a phone call from the Kamala campaign basically, and they just basically said, "Hey, can you interview Kamala?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. When or where?" And they said, "Well, we're going to do it on this date, and you'll have 5 minutes with Kamala." And he's like, "Well, that's not usually how I do an interview." And they're like, "Well, that's what we've got scheduled for you, so that's what we, it's just like that's not how you engage with alternative media. You have a real talk. You don't have your schedulers schedule you a 5 minute, meet and greet or whatever with the client interviewer or whatever. It's insane that they think that's how media should work, basically. So,
Right. Yeah, that's wild.
but
Um,
at the same time, like with Trump with his interviews, when he went on the Theo Vaughn thing or something, he's like, he actually looks like a human being. He's like, "Oh, you were addicted to crack cocaine. What was that like? Do you think alcohol is stronger, crack is stronger? What's that?" He sounds like he's like empathizing with this human. He really, and also his older brother had died of alcoholism, and so he's like, really wrestling with what is this thing like? What is this addiction thing like and stuff. He looks and sounds like a normal human being for a short amount of time with this person. So
yeah, totally.
yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that's all that. So yeah. So what about the first, what is it, 6 months almost of the Trump administration?
Goodness, time flies when I don't know. I don't know whatever this is.
Yeah, they're yeah, when they're ripping all the copper out of the skeleton of democracy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. Well, they have been moving fast and breaking things. So some people, according to a poll, like at least 40 something percent of the populace thinks this is very exciting. And they're blown away by it. Amazing. They love it. We put
Yeah.
him there to shake things up. He's doing it. So
Yeah, I'm actually getting a little excited though because the dollar is finally weakening. When I first came to Korea, the dollar was pretty weak, and like I had to for every dollar of American money that I changed to South Korean won when I came here, I was only getting like 891 for $1,
oh man.
900 won for $1. And then at some point after the 2008 crisis or something, like it got flipped on its back, and it was like $1 or 1,450 won per $1. And it's been up and down a little bit, but it's been like that for a while. So basically, it means I lose money when I try to send money home from Korea back to America. So it's almost not worth it for me to ever send money back because the exchange rate's so messed up.
Man.
But it's actually gone down about 6 cents this past week or so. So I think the dollar is weakening against the Korean won. So
Oh.
if it goes negative again, I would be willing to send a lot of money back to America to my
Yeah,
account because the exchange rates would benefit me at that point. So,
absolutely.
keep going, Trump. I'm winning. I don't know about the people who depend on the dollar being strong, and I know there's an argument that Republicans are making that a strong dollar is hurting us internationally with exports or whatever. But yeah, it's yes. I don't know how long we're going to keep winning.
Is that what we're
Yeah, it's
doing?
all yeah. Yeah, I think even I wonder if Trump, because Trump in public he has to say, "Oh, it's the Biden economy. Oh, we're having trouble because it's the Biden economy." Even though during the election he said, "I'm not even been inaugurated yet, and already the economy is already responding positively because they know I'm coming." But now, 6 months in, he's like, "Yeah, the problems with the economy are still Biden's fault." What happened? I thought they were all excited about you, homeboy. So yeah, so I wonder because like it's almost completely inarguable that his insanity with the tariff war is solely responsible for a lot of the instability we're having right now. And on some level, he has to understand that. He's like, oh, wow. For most of my adult life, I've been complaining about other countries taking advantage of us and how, America needs to make things in America. And now I'm trying to implement it and it's not working. And I was wrong. I've been wrong for most of my adult life about it. I mean, on some deep subconscious level, he has to be aware of that. But of course, we're getting all the, narcissistic coping mechanisms of, no, 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 it's their fault. Oh, they should have done what I said. Oh, da, 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 But like on some deep level, it has permeated his thick skull that like, oh my God, I've been an idiot my whole life, maybe,
That would be a level of self-reflection that I'm not sure he's capable of.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
deep down, maybe in his like reptile brain or something, he
Well,
knows.
I think, coping mechanisms are often a response to what you know deep down, right?
Right,
Like, I mean,
sure, absolutely.
so, you know, you can put on a good front, but like,
Hmm.
you know, sorry, Trump, daddy still doesn't love you. Yeah. You didn't do good in college.
Oh no.
You just got in with daddy's money. They didn't like you. Nobody thought you were smart.
Mm,
It's like, these are the voices he should really be hearing.
sure.
So, but yeah, it's pretty wild. So how is it? What's it like living in the Trump America? Because I haven't been back since this latest term
I
started.
mean, people around here seem fine with it mostly, except for the vocal minority, I guess,
Hmm.
that is out in the streets protesting every couple of weeks, I guess. Um, so yeah, I mean, people that you would expect to be outraged are outraged, and everyone else is just kind of going to work and going to eat fast food and wonder why the eggs aren't cheaper. I guess I don't know. Nobody
Yeah,
seems that. I mean, I'm in Indiana, so results may vary. I'm sure other places are more. If I was still in California, I'm sure it would be completely different. Um,
I'm curious to see what happens in Indiana because there are, so many farmers and so many truckers, right? Like, and those are things that are about to get hit. It sounds like. It sounds
don't
like with
know.
the.
I don't know that I have much faith that people can put two and two together anymore. Maybe, I mean, I guess if I don't know. I think certain people just take pride in not expecting much out of life. And I work 90 hours a week and I never got a day off and blah, blah, blah. And I work myself to the bone and isn't that great? And I think there's like such like a mindset of, it's puritanical, like misery equaling purity, drudgery, divine, I guess, whatever. It's really, it's hard to break that. I don't know. What do
I
you
think
think?
I don't. I think what's about to happen with the American economy. I think it's going to be very hard for anybody to ignore it pretty shortly. I think they're
So,
saying, the what is it, like 60 or 70% down in the imports or the number of container ships coming into Los Angeles port or whatever. And I think they say, 1 or 2 more weeks or so into May before those shortages start happening on the shelves.
yeah, it's
And
coming, I bet. I mean,
they're talking about massive firings of truckers, people driving, transport across America.
sure.
I think a lot of people who are, and I mean, the farms took a hit in the first Trump administration, but he bailed them out, right? During COVID,
Yep.
he bailed out the farmers with tax money. So, and that may not be an option the second time. He can't bail out as many people as are about to get screwed, I don't think. So,
Well, aren't we getting a Doge check or something? Is Elon going to send us a Doge check for
I think that's only if we vote for conservative judges,
uh,
Bob, publicly.
really? Okay. No, no, no. Wasn't that part of? I know what you're talking about. He tried to buy that election in Wisconsin, but what about he was talking like with the savings we're going to give people? Did you not hear about that?
So yeah, I'm sure he promised many things, but it sounds like there were no real savings,
No,
and
of course not.
yeah,
Just a
yeah.
lot of
So there, I mean,
incompetence.
and I think ultimately what America is going to have to come to terms with is the fact that the destructiveness of the anti-tax philosophy of the Republican Party for the past since at least Reagan.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, Reagan is where you can
no,
like, yeah, trace it back to a lot of this stuff. Yeah.
yeah, this no new taxes.
Yep.
I'm going to lower taxes. All this stuff. We're gonna make
Five scariest
government.
words are I'm from the
From the
government
government, and
and
I'm
I'm
coming to
here
help.
to help.
Yeah.
Like it's the reductio ad absurdum of that, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that most Americans don't realize is that all the crazy shit that's happening and all the bloviating and everything is really in service of the only thing that Donald Trump was able to basically accomplish in his first term, which was an enduring tax cut on the wealthy, right?
Which the wealthy voted once again for him for this time because it is going to sunset unless they renew it.
Yeah, it sunsets in 2025, right?
Yeah.
So, and as far as I understood it, the middle class tax cut or whatever had already expired. I think that one expired first, and the other one was more enduring, but they did need Trump to come back and renew it, right? So,
sure.
And so all the disruption, all the destruction of the USAID and all that stuff that we now find out was actually a pretty good sink for excess production of American farmers, which they no longer have now, right? And so we're probably, like, frankly, the mainstream media, honestly, what the mainstream media should be doing is putting reporters to do investigations into these places that are not receiving the USAID anymore and see what's happening over there. We need to put some faces on these, starving Africans or whatever.
Yeah.
And say, okay, well, congratulations, Elon Musk. You killed a bunch of people in the third world. You killed a market for excess production of farmers, which was basically a farm subsidy for American farmers to be inefficiently overproducing things that are not necessary in America, even if you take an American first perspective, right? Like, so you've done all this, and maybe Trump can bail them out and give them some subsidies again. But again, this is all like to think that this is a businessman running the government efficiently. It's the opposite. It's the opposite of that. We had a well-oiled machine that was helping the third world to some degree for America's own reasons or whatever, but also subsidizing our farmers, right? Well, they've ripped that up from the floorboards. So
yeah,
and everything else is about to get ripped up too, it sounds like. So
well, and then they're like firing people without discretion, and then they're realizing that like, oh wait, you run. I don't know,
air traffic controllers.
Yeah, the infectious diseases come back.
Yeah. Isn't there like the largest measles outbreak ever or something going on in Texas or something right now?
I heard about that. Very.
Yeah, very irresponsible. Yeah. I think it is one good thing I've seen a lot of is that I think people are starting to realize that, like what Bernie and AOC are out there doing, like they're doing the Lord's work, to paraphrase a religious perspective. But
yes,
just going out there into deep red districts where the Republican congressmen and senators are hiding from their own constituents and holding these massive overflow rallies, multiple times in a day because they can't even contain the number of people who are showing up. Like this was, think about how much of the stupidity we could have avoided if they would have let Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders have a straight up knockdown, drag out fight in 2015, 2016, and we would have gotten Bernie and Trump would have gone away back to his, what's his show?
The Apprentice?
The Apprentice season 25 or whatever he would be on by now. I mean, how much better could things have gone if we just, had that reality instead of where we're at now? And nowadays, even people on like the Bulwark, a lot of the Bulwark people are even saying like, they're seriously critically re-examining Bernie and being like, you know what, like this guy might be the real deal. This might actually be what we need. Like Chuck Schumer's not going to do it. Hillary Clinton was never going to do it.
No.
Joe Biden wasn't going to do it. Kamala Harris wasn't really going to do it. So, yeah, I think there is some belated realization that this was the answer. This was always the answer. I, the scene at the end, towards the end of towards the denouement or the climax of the Fast and the Furious Part One, where what's his name? Oh God, I'm terrible with names. The main character, R.I.P.
Paul Walker.
Yeah, Paul Walker's character is still he's been investigating Dominic Toretto and stuff, and he at first he was suspicious, but then he falls in love with his sister, and he's kind of taken under by his charms and everything, and he's kind of changing his mind. No, maybe it's this other guy. Maybe it was this what's his the Tran guy, the guy driving the S2000 and stuff. He's like, maybe it was him, and they raid his villa, and they can't find the stolen DVD players or VCRs or whatever they were jacking back in the 2000s. And the other police officer says to him, like, it was Dominic Toretto. It was always Dominic Toretto. You got to accept this. It's like this was the answer from the beginning, and you're ignoring it now. You're trying to look for other places, but it's not there. This was what it was. Like, I think that's a great scene, actually.
Yeah, I just quoted that movie to Captain. I said he could have
I
any.
live my life a quarter mile at a time.
No, not that one. I said,
different quote.
Yeah, we were at a birthday party, and I said, you can have any kind of pizza you want as long as it's cheese.
Okay. He doesn't like the toppings or something, or what?
No, they didn't have anything except cheese.
Oh,
Because in the beginning of the first
yeah.
Fast and the Furious,
Any beer you want as long as it's a Corona.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a legitimately great movie, and like I haven't even watched the last several because they've gone downhill so much.
Yeah, I think they're very not keeping with what the the vibe of the first one, or I guess the rules of the universe, I guess, because they were doing some pretty like surreal things by the end there, I feel like.
Yeah, it became absurd, and
Yeah.
too many big personalities. I think like The Rock and Jason Statham or whatever. I mean, like
Yeah.
those guys got involved. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the first one was almost like a Western.
Yeah, well, I mean, people have said it was, Point Break with cars.
Oh yeah. Good point.
But it was a good, solid, well done movie. I think it was legitimately a good movie. I think
I need to watch that one again.
Yeah, and like Vin Diesel, like his
Yeah.
charisma was actually real. Like he had real charisma. You could see how this undercover police officer gets kind of swept up in this outlaw racer gang kind of thing. It was a solid movie, very solid.
Definitely.
So yeah, trying to think what else is going on. Yeah, the economy. Elon Musk with his, on inauguration day, doing 2 Hitler salutes. Hail Hitler!
Just in case you missed the first one, he did one more.
And then trying to do his his Lee Ultimate meme cow type bullshit. Oh, I said my heart goes out to you. That's what I meant. Oh my gosh.
Yes, we know his edgelord routine by this point. Yes.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. The plausible deniability of like the reality is that if any normal person was accused of doing Hitler salute, like they would be going out of their way, bending over backwards to disavow it. But he was like, no, you can't prove that's what I meant.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous. So so but it seems like he's on his way out. It seems like Tesla shares are collapsing because, of course, and
yes,
I'm really curious. Actually, I think like it's very interesting because his purchase of Twitter, as I understand it, was, well, number one, he had assistance for people like Saudi Arabia,
of course,
but at the same time, also a lot of his own valuation or whatever, his wealth is valuated on his Tesla stock and SpaceX and government contracts and carbon substitutions or whatever, where because Tesla doesn't use gasoline or whatever, so they have an excess of carbon credits or something, which they sell to other car companies that still use gas. But so the other car companies can now they can go around the restrictions because they buy these
Yeah.
carbon credits from another company that doesn't produce as many. And so, like, as far as I know, like, that's like the thing that's kind of, supporting his company's valuation at this point more than the actual products that they make.
Right.
But I'm curious to see at some point, is it possible that he could ever like actually lose Twitter because his own valuation goes down so much that his
I
own,
think Twitter's valuation went up, at least according to what I saw, like around the election. I think because people want access to Trump, possibly, or him. Maybe that's more valuable now just because the stuff. I
but
thought it had fallen to. Okay, it says, huh. All right,
but this
March 19th, The Guardian headline: Value of X rebounds to 44 billion purchase price. So it's worth it, according to this valuation. I didn't read the story yet, but here we are doing exactly what I said earlier about alternative media, like finding an article and then commenting on
that's why I asked, Bob, which side are we on?
I know, right? But apparently it's back to what he bought it for. So didn't lose anything, I
Okay.
guess. So
Yeah, but
I
my thing is, I
guess,
mean, does he own it outright, or is he still paying on it? Like, the thing is,
that is a good question. I don't
if
know
he's
if he's
still
still.
paying on it and stuff, and if there's like, I don't know if there could be like a margin call or something where they say, look, you bought it when your net worth was this much. Now your net worth is definitively not that much. We need to double check that you can still afford this, or so. I mean, at some point, do they do something like
Oh,
that and say, I don't know, but
yeah.
yeah. I think he's gone into the Trump administration as the wealthiest man in the world, and it'll be interesting to see if he's able to maintain that throughout the Trump administration, or if he's going to have a massive collapse here.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, once you're wealthy over a certain degree, to some degree, you're never not going to be wealthy again. Like, you've
I know
always got enough
he'll
money
never
to,
really go broke. Yeah,
yeah. So,
it's unfortunate, but true.
yeah, but yeah, so but again, that's been a stupid thing. It seems like there's some question as to how much personal information they were able to get out of the government when they went into the was it, I don't know, Social Security Agency or whatever, and like, they were vacuuming up information or something with those people, uh
Yeah,
his people or whatever went in
his
there.
Doge.
Yeah. And again, I think a lot of this stuff has roots in the first administration, where Trump brought in his family members who couldn't get security clearances, and he just said, no, they have to come in. They're my people. And there was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. I guess we don't need to do a real security clearance on these people.
Right.
And now, of course, Elon Musk has government contracts for multiple of his companies. He has massive business in China.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting briefed on the American war plan with China.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is like, I'm not even a national security type person or whatever, but like, this is wildly outside of the range of anything that could be considered good practice as far as, you know, security clearance being granted to the appropriate people for these kinds of positions. And is he in government? Is he not in government? Is he a
Right.
special government employee? Is he the head of Doge? Is it some woman in Tennessee that nobody's ever heard of? Is he being removed after 3 months, or is he being, what in the world? This is not the way government operates. This is something else.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm, so.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Bob. You have detected a hypocrisy.
What do I win?
Nothing.
Nothing. Not a thing.
Maybe
Wow.
detecting hypocrisy is its own reward, I guess.
Like, it has to be. It has to be. It sounds like.
You have detected one hypocrisy.
Oh, great. I needed that.
Hypocrisy is now accountable now.
Oh, great. Awesome. That'll be useful later in the game.
Yeah. So so we've also got the deportation stuff, the Garcia, what's his name? I can't even remember the guy's name, but like,
The guy that got deported to
Well,
Venezuela.
one of many people. Yeah.
Yeah. Or El Salvador, was it?
El Salvador. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Trump and the court told them, halt these flights. You are not to put these people on the flights. And like, oops, we're sorry. The
Yeah.
flight's already in the air and it's over international waters. So we
Yeah.
don't have to listen to the Supreme Court. I'm sorry. And then the Supreme Court's like, then the lower court is like, you have to, what did they say? You have to uh, like officiate or attempt or something to return these people or something. And then the Supreme Court took a half step less than that, and they say you have to make inquiries about it or something, but you don't actually have to effectuate it or something. And he's like, see, I couldn't do anything because I can't tell El Salvador's president what to do. And El Salvador's president's like, what can I do? I can't return a terrorist to America. These guys are terrorists, right? And Trump's like, see, our hands are tied. What can we possibly do?
Yeah.
It's just absurd. And the Supreme Court is trying to look like they didn't get cucked, but they absolutely did.
Of
So
course they did. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, the Supreme Court. You're not going to be much help these
yeah,
4 years, are you?
yeah. And again, this is the thing. I think we need the next Democratic president to say every liberty that the Republicans have taken, we're going to take full advantage of it. If the Supreme Court tells us something we don't like to hear, we're going to ignore it.
Well,
If we want to punish our political opponents,
yeah, if it's legal if a president does it, apparently, according to the Supreme Court. So,
yeah. The only way that all this stuff ends is if the Democrats start taking advantage of it just as much as the Republicans have. And I'm sorry to say that, and I know the normie Democrats want to. No, we have to be a better example of how government is supposed to be. We got to show them how they're supposed to do. No, we need somebody who goes just as far the opposite direction, and then everybody be remembering like, oh, this is why checks and balances. This is why, habeas corpus. This is why all this stuff exists, because it's not fun when the other side ignores all that shit. Like, so, yeah, I do think like, again, this is, Texas Hold'em, no consequences. Basically, it's like there's that you're gambling with somebody else who has unlimited money and no consequence if they lose, right? Like
exactly.
If we win, we're gonna target our political opponents, but if we lose, we're gonna fall back on, oh, you can't target us. This is political. You can't come after us. Oh, it's not fair.
Yeah.
And it's unsustainable. So
Meanwhile, Letitia James is getting investigated now. So,
what about Eric Adams? Did you follow that situation?
oh, the mayor of New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, they dropped the federal prosecution, and then didn't some people in the U.S. Attorney's office quit?
Yeah, but the blatant quid pro quo was that he was going to open up New York City not to be a sanctuary city, to basically open it up to federal ICE and federal agencies coming in to get any illegal immigrants or whatever refugee seekers in the city. So again, this is the danger of corruption. When you make yourself corrupt, you open yourself up to doing the opposite of what your actual political interests are, and you make yourself a pliant victim of the opposition party.
Yeah,
Because
well,
you yourself are corrupt.
Yeah, I just don't think a lot of Democrats are willing to do like what you're saying, and I think they're so caught up in setting a good example for the Republicans so much of the time that they never get around to like pointing out, hey, what if we did this? How would you like it?
Yeah.
They
Well,
never,
again, the best thing, I think I saw Barack Obama was giving a speech like, can you imagine if I had done half of the things that it's like, okay, congratulations, Barack Obama. You have detected one hypocrisy. Now what? Again, this is
if
what I get
only
so
you
sick
had been
of.
in a position to do something about it for 8 years.
Yeah. It's this is the most insufferable part of normie Dems to me, is that
Yeah.
they they get so excited when they find a hypocrisy, and they're like, ooh, look what ooh, isn't this a interesting and delectable little, you know, something that I've discovered. Look at this little logical, thing that I've deduced. It's like, okay, well, that's not power. That doesn't accomplish anything. That doesn't do anything to your opponents.
They'd
So
say it in the opposite direction. So
or wait, what?
if they detect a hypocrisy, of course they would jump all over it.
Yeah, yeah. The problem is too many Democrats care about not wanting to look like a hypocrite.
True.
So yeah, I think there's at this point, and the ironic thing again, of course, is that nationalists and Trumpistas and all these people, they respect strength, right? They don't respect weakness. So if you display strength, even if you're doing it by punishing them and taking away their rights and throwing their asses in jail, they're going to respect that more than, oh, I really wish they hadn't done that, and oh, isn't it hypocritical that Trump did this and I can't do it? Oh, it's not fair. Like nobody respects it. Republicans don't respect it. We don't respect it. I don't respect it. So
Yeah. Please, sir, may I have another?
yeah, we need Democrats who are willing to, adapt to the current political reality.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, so the deportations and stuff are going on, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this I don't know. What else did you think about politically what's going on these days, or what issues are coming up?
Ooh, I mean, it's been scary to see what's happened with. Did you see that Indiana Governor Braun is now able to choose all the IU trustees?
Oh, great.
Yeah, they snuck it
Yeah.
into a budget bill. So, yeah, that'll be great. And yeah, the attack on education continues, obviously.
Yeah.
I love how they were going to shut down the Department of Education, except for now they're restarting student loan collections.
Yeah.
It's like I thought you were destroying the Department of Education, or you're leaving the law enforcement part of it, or whatever. Like, is that the only part of the thing you're keeping open? Just to give us the money back part.
Yeah. Yeah. It's these are the priorities of these people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the Indiana University has been very disappointing with the president, the woman these days, or whatever,
Yeah.
with the Palestine protests and everything.
Yeah, that was pretty shameful stuff for sure. Wasn't proud to be an alum when I was reading about that. Because I mean, did you read about the stuff in Dunn Meadow?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe they're cracking down on people like that. Remember how when we were there, people were protesting the Iraq War like every day for years?
yeah, more or less. Yeah, I have
And
some
now
regrets
they're
about
like,
that period.
yeah,
I feel like we were, politically active to some degree online. Like we were reading the news every day or whatever, and we were aware and engaged or whatever. But at the same time, like, that would have been a great time to start a podcast, if to the degree that a podcast adjacent type of thing even could exist back then, or
I don't think
start a
podcasts were
blog.
really, yeah, maybe a
Yeah,
blog,
start a
but
blog.
yeah,
Yeah, probably start a blog back then or something. Because like a
yeah.
lot of these people, like I think like what's his name, New York Times guy,
Which guy?
Ezra Klein,
Uh-huh.
and like and MSNBC lady, the lesbian, who
Rachel
I'm trying,
Maddow.
Rachel Maddow, the guy with glasses on MSNBC who's really good, I think.
Oh, Chris Hayes.
Chris Hayes. Like again, I think a lot of these guys at the Majority Report, TYT, all of these people got their start back around the time towards our late college career. They
I
were,
think those guys are like 5 or 10 years older than us, aren't they?
yeah, I guess so, maybe. But like, I mean, the fact that they were like, they were politically engaged at that time and publishing things. Like
No,
just
I
the
know.
fact that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were, that
Matt
they,
Iglesias.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that whole milieu.
sure.
So I guess we were a little bit younger and stuff, but I feel like we, to some degree, we didn't really go to protests, although we opposed Bush and stuff. But like,
Yeah,
I do think that there was like a little bit more of, public political engagement from us might have, jump started our careers in a direction there
sure.
at that point that would have,
But we did show up for the basketball riots, so you can't take that
yeah,
away
yeah,
from
yeah.
us.
I've told my students because like in Korea, a lot of people got tear gassed and stuff and arrested and stuff in the 1980s fighting the dictators of Korea at that point. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I've been tear gassed too. And they're like, oh really? And they're like, in Korea? And I said, no, in America. And I said, oh, what did you get tear gas for? I said, well, my college basketball team didn't make we lost a game when I was a freshman, and everybody was very upset. So we went out, we took to the streets, and tear gas was flying, and you know, bullets, the pepper bullets or whatever, the pepper spray bullets were getting shot. Very, very, very rough. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I've had that experience, but just not
Yes.
for anything worthwhile.
Not at all. It was not meaningful, but we were there, man. At
Yeah,
least we're in the streets.
yep, yep. It was the only time I'd ever seen riot police in America. I think I've seen them plenty
Yeah,
of times in Korea, but yeah, that was the
right.
only time I'd ever seen riot shields and riot
For
gear in
sure.
America.
Yeah, that was wild stuff. I remember that. Yeah, yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but we're doing it now. Coming up on, we just passed 9 years doing this.
Jeez, yeah,
So
wow. I think I want to go back and listen to the first episode that we did because
I
it's
know.
been so long and everything. And I remember like I think somebody else from high school who was also like a journalist person or something had listened to it and said, "Oh, that was really good" or something. I'm like, "Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah, yeah." We did get off to a auspicious start, I guess.
Definitely.
But yeah, yeah, um, yeah. But anyways, yeah, politics is all messed up. America's in trouble. The
Yes.
trade war. We're getting ready to go into the Christmas shopping season, and it sounds like a lot of Donald Trump is talking about how many dolls a girl can get. Maybe not 30 this year, maybe just one or two. Hey Trump, what about the people who only got one or two last year? How many
Yeah,
do they get
exactly.
this?
We get like
Yeah.
a doll arm this year. That's all you're getting.
Yeah. People are telling me good things about oh shit, Goodwill. I'm hearing lots of people are saying.
More
So
and more people are talking about upcycling.
yeah.
You hear it
So
more and more.
yeah, it is. I do get kind of frustrated with some of the coverage though about how, oh, these Trump voters regret their vote. Haha. It's like, okay, yeah, it's too late. They've already voted for him for
Yeah,
the last time they'll ever vote for him in their lives. It doesn't matter if they like it or not now. It's like you've already bought the ticket. Now you're going for the ride. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. So, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
I guess
let's yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, 2028. I mean, Trump says maybe he wanted a third term, change the Constitution, and then he was like, "No, just kidding." So if let's say he follows through on that, who's coming next? Ivanka, JD Vance.
yeah, I don't know. It's you mean if he doesn't run or if he does?
Oh, if he don't, I mean, either way. I mean, who would who would want it in 28 from the Republican side? Do you think?
Well, I don't think it matters. No way. I mean, I don't think that there is any kind of a successor who can take over from this. Like, I
No,
mean,
I know. Yeah, I don't think it's possible. Yeah, it's kind of amazing that anyone would try, but I'm sure somebody would try.
yeah, I think you have to have a very unique psychological cocktail to achieve what Trump has achieved, and it's very rare, I think, that anybody else has that unique cocktail or
Hmm.
the combination of shamelessness and desire to be paid attention to, I guess.
I just don't think any of the other ones have the juice, whatever that is. You know,
Yeah. Well, sociopathy and narcissism.
he's been a celebrity for like 30 or 40 years at this point. So
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I do think like, I think a lot of it comes down to the ability to keep stumbling forward even when you should have taken what would have for a normal politician been a body blow. That's what it is. I think you know, almost any other politician is, horrible as they may be on any number of issues, at the end of the day, they still want to be loved and respected and, you know, and, and so forth. But Trump doesn't for a variety of reasons that I think are pretty well
well,
established.
he has at least no public shame.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, yeah. Like I said, I think a lot of it probably manifests very profoundly at some psychological level, subconsciously or whatever, but that doesn't really matter, right? Like for all intents and purposes. So, have you been following the video game stuff these days?
No, what's up?
Well, Nintendo has started raising their prices for their they released the Nintendo. They're releasing the Nintendo Switch 2, and they're charging a lot of money for it, I think. But it sold out immediately. And then they're raising their prices for their games to $80 per game now.
Wow,
up from like 60 or so, I think is what
that's incredible.
60 or 70 is what it was before. And then Microsoft, Xbox also has said that they're going to be raising their prices due to, market conditions such as they are. And they're even like suggesting that the tariffs may be part of it, even though, they have successfully transitioned mostly to digital games. They're not really, selling as many physical copies as they used to, which would have been the only reason that the physical hardware as far as imports would even matter. Because if it's all digital now and you're just downloading a thing on the storefront or whatever, you're not actually importing anything. So that, but they're using the fact that that Nintendo has raised prices, and also the fact that there is inflation. They're using that as a chance to basically jump their prices up a good $20 per game. So a lot of people are angry about that. But then, like a couple of days later, the Grand Theft Auto 6 second trailer dropped. Have you seen that?
I heard about it.
Looks beautiful. Looks incredible. So I mean, the details, the realism, the world building, and everything that's going on in that, it looks amazing. And I don't know. And again, of course, like everybody's saying, well, we would gladly pay $100 for this game, but we don't want to pay $80 for every other game, and da da da. So there's a lot of like pushing and pulling going on regarding pricing and costs as far as video games and the future of video games is going.
Right. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, because like I'm trying to remember like back in the 1990s, buying a Super Nintendo game at Walmart. I'm like, I want to say it was about $50 or $60. I could be totally wrong. I have no idea how much. Maybe it was.
No, I think it's in the neighborhood. I remember.
Yeah, I feel like prices for video games, even back then, the 16-bit era or whatever, the prices have been pretty consistent. A new video game generally costs this much. And yes, like, I mean, I feel like the Super Nintendo Entertainment System probably was only like $150 for the system or something maybe, and now they're getting up to the 300, 400 range. Although now they're saying, Xbox, the system itself is going to cost 700 or 800 or something. So those are going way up. So yeah, and I've switched about 2 years ago. I switched to a PC. I got a gaming PC set up and everything, and it's and with the Steam games, like honestly, like I don't know. I probably in the long run, I probably saved money because of how many games I got on sale on Steam. So I think PC gaming is probably going to be the way of the future. But the problem is they're saying that I didn't realize this, but apparently Rockstar Games never releases their games for PC within the first year. So they always release to the systems first for the first year, and then the second year they usually release a PC version. So I'm like, that's not going to work because like they've already delayed the release of GTA 6 until May 2026. So it's going to be 1 year from this month that they release the game, which basically means it's going to be 2 years before I can play it. So they're putting like a lot of downward pressure on me to break down and go ahead and buy a PlayStation or an Xbox, which I don't think I'm not going to do. I can't justify that for one game. But at the same time, like, GTA 6 looks fucking beautiful. It's like I really want to play it, and 1 year is a long wait. 2 years is an astronomical wait. But like, I don't know. I'm curious what's going to happen there because I think
Wow.
I think people should be moving away from the consoles because the consoles are becoming um, unwieldy, and they're it's just not a good situation. I think economically the way they're treating the customers at this point.
It's amazing that they think they can get away with charging people that. Yeah. No, I'm thinking back, and I think 50 was about what it was.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, and it's kind of crazy when you look back at those games and like just how little we really got for what we were paying at that time. But like,
Right.
but the thing is, if games have been that steady for that long, and now you're going to do a $20 jump just because you think you can get away with it, you know, you look back on, over 10 years ago on the Gamergate stuff that was going on and how the Gamergate supposedly led to this right-wing push amongst young men in that era. And now, congratulations. Okay, you got your right-wing government. Now we're going to jack up the price of your video games $20, but people don't want to see that connection. So,
Yeah, highway robbery.
yep, yep. It's like they're dragging us out of our own car on the road.
It's literally like that.
It's like Grand Theft Auto.
I know.
What?
It's just like you're one of the NPCs.
Yeah, yeah. When do I get my main character energy or whatever? Yeah. So that's what's going on with video games right now. Although there was also a French game called Clair Obscura 33rd, like Mission 33 or something. It's a French company that's made it. It's a very good RPG that's come out recently, supposedly, and it was only charging $50 for that one, I think. So that was pretty reasonable.
Okay.
I'll probably have to pick that one up soon.
Yeah, let's see. We've got a Nintendo Switch. I don't know what generation it is or whatever, but that's probably the newest system we've got. We have a Wii, but we haven't used it in quite some time. So probably use the Switch more often. Katamari, Mario.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's well, yeah, I guess once you get a real family, the video games take a step
I
back,
really
I
have.
suppose.
I don't have much time for that anymore.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah, there's a lot of good games out there. Helldivers 2 has been a lot of fun. Yeah, stuff like that. Um, yeah, I finally got Ghosts of Tsushima a few months ago, but I haven't really played it that much. I played just like the first level or two. Looks pretty, but I'm worried it's just going to be a very standard kind of hack and slash game. With yeah, but yeah. Anyways, so that's kind of the
Hack and
updates on the video
slash
game.
is like what it sounds like.
Kind of just like a third person sword, mostly combat game, action game kind of.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. That's I mean, first person shooters usually with guns, third person with swords. Because sometimes like some games try to implement first person hack and slash, like I want to say those zombie games, the Dead Island games try to do that more. Like, but I don't think first person works with melee combat very well. I think it's way too hard to judge distances and to have realistic distance combat with first person. It just works better with third person. So
is there ever a second person shooter?
I don't know. I don't know what that would look like.
What part of speech would that be? I don't know. Seems less
Yeah,
common.
yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, third person and first person. I don't know what is in between those. Actually, would that be text based? Maybe. I have no idea.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. Otherwise, like in South Korea, um, I think the we've changed presidents again. The acting president has been changed again because
Oh,
the
really?
acting president who had replaced Yoon Suk Yeol he was impeached almost immediately by the Democratic Party here, and then
Yeah, I remember you
somehow
saying they
that
were gonna do that after he got in, probably. So,
yeah, somehow I don't know, that got dealt with though, and then he was put back in.
hmm.
But about a week or two ago, he resigned as president. I think
Oh
two
man.
Thursdays ago, he resigned as president because he wants to run as the president of the Conservative Party this time. And there was some other guy, I forget his name. He was going to run for president, but now today I see basically they had a 2 or 3 hour meeting or something, and they couldn't decide who was going to be the candidate. And so even though the other guy had won the voting within the party or something to be the candidate, like now they're saying the guy who stepped down should the party is saying he should be the candidate, and so they're pushing the other guy aside.
Hmm.
He's saying he's going to sue the party or something, and it's going to be a big. Basically, we're going to have a left wing president in about 2 more months, I believe. Here, we're going to have the election, and we're going to probably get EJ Myung. So I guess we had Easter recently, right?
Yeah, that's another thing that just happened. Yeah. Heck yeah, we
Yeah.
had Easter.
One of my students gave me a basket full of Easter eggs, hard
Nice.
boiled.
Oh, real
Um,
real eggs. I got it.
yeah,
That was a very valuable. That would be a very valuable basket in America.
and yeah, I know. I don't really
Eggs.
like hard boiled eggs, so I gave them out to people. But I was thinking about the Americans back in America, and I was
You should have
thinking,
been.
oh, you poor guys, this is probably $40 right here. I'm sitting on.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, but yeah. So I was wondering how that was. The egg prices were affecting everything back in America for Easter, but I didn't hear
Yeah.
any stories about it.
No, they've come down slightly, I guess, but it's still higher, much higher than it was before. That's how they always do. That's they like jack it up to like $10 and then they bring it down to 8, even though it used to be 6, and you feel like you're getting a deal because it's not not 10 anymore. You know?
Yeah. Well, it never really comes down. This is the
No,
danger of
exactly. They ratcheted up.
yeah, this is the danger of inflation, unfortunately.
Hmm. Stagflation.
So yeah,
Back to the
maybe.
70s with it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it is interesting though, because I do think like some stuff like, for example, the COVID payments that we all received
Hmm.
definitely undeniably contributed to inflation.
Sure.
So, but at the same time, like a lot of people want to blame Biden for that, even though Trump did more of it. So,
Oh, he Trump put his name on the checks. He insisted.
yeah. So that was an interesting. I knew at the time. I realized like if the American government is giving every single American citizen thousands of dollars, like something very, very, very unbelievably historically bad is happening because
Yeah. This
the
has never
government does
happened
not
before.
this is not done. Like so
George
and I
Bush gave
mean
us like $300 one time, remember?
vaguely, I don't know if you filed your taxes that year maybe, but
Yeah.
mm, so so yeah, but I am worried like the stuff like that, like yeah, I mean inflation is a problem, right? Like especially
Sure.
like as somebody who's not really invested for my retirement, I don't have an American 401k or anything, so
Well,
it's
you're
not like I've
probably
got
better
things
off the
appreciating.
last few weeks not having a 401k. Wouldn't have mattered too much lately with the tariff business.
Hmm. Yeah, but the thing is when you're completely liquid, as it were, right? Like I mean, you really are at the mercy of inflation, and so inflation is a really dangerous
True.
thing for life savings, retirement savings, things like that.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, that's it. These are my concerns too.
I get it. I'm very concerned also for the future, but whew.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that's that's a variety of things that have been on my mind as far as politics and
Yeah.
economics and video games and
We got 3 minutes left, child. What music you've been listening to lately?
Well, I recently watched the TV show. Let me see. Silicon Valley. Did you ever see that? It was kind of funny.
Is it on HBO Max?
Yeah, HBO. Yeah, it was an
I have
HBO
that.
show.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
It
I've not
was it
seen it.
was funny. It's not great, but it was pretty good. But and it's by Mike Judge, which is interesting, I thought. But at the end of every episode, the music at the closing credits is almost always like pretty dang banger and everything. So that's some stuff. Okay, let me see if I can do something, Bob. Can I minimize this app without ending the call?
Try it, see what happens.
Because I'm look.
If it ends, I'll just start another one.
All right, because I'm looking at my Shazam here. It looks like it's going to work. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there were a lot of songs on there that were pretty interesting, I thought. So, Ghetto Boys, First Light of the Day was
Mm.
one of them. Uh, yeah, yeah, there were a lot. Um, yeah, a lot of good songs on there. Anyways, there was a version of Walking on Sunshine by a mariachi band in Spanish that was pretty great. Um,
Sounds
and
great.
I've been dipping back into my past. Were you ever aware of like Dr. Octagon?
Oh, sure. Cool, Keith.
Yeah, Blue Flowers, I think, was a song by them
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that was actually one of the first songs that I happened in Napster back in the day. I think
Wow.
it was just like, I wasn't searching for anything in particular or something, but it just happened to be one of the MP3 files that showed up on the list. I'm like, oh, what's that? I'll check it out.
Huh.
That one, Cassius 1999.
Wow.
I've been listening to some old, like I said, Dune, Hardcore Vibes, and Can't Stop Raving. When I go to the gym, I go into my YouTube whatever history, and I just go back. I've been starting from the bottom. I've been going all the way back to the very end, and I've
Mm.
been starting from songs that I was favoriting back in like 2007, 2008 at the
Wow.
beginning of YouTube, and it's kind of interesting to hear what I was listening to back then.
That's awesome.
Um, there's one called Burn Water, I think, called Itigai or something. Hold on, let me see that. It's a really good song. Uh, Ikigai. It's like a Japanese word, I think. It's a really good song, and it seems to be like on a YouTube kind of free music YouTube thing or something. But it's actually like legit a good song.
Cool.
Yeah, so these are some of the ones, yeah, that I've been listening to recently, I guess.
Sweet. Well, it's 12:16 in the AM here. I got Mother's Day weekend coming up. Gotta make it pop.
Mhm. Okay.
So
All right. Yeah, yeah. Well, good chat here, Bob, and yeah, good luck in the future of Trump's America as it goes
thanks.
forward. And
All right, I'll talk to you later, Joe.
all right, all right. Yeah, later on, Bob. Bye bye.
Bye.